Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode, Heart of the Volunteer Veterans Podcast, for your Monday Mandatory Motivation, episode 004. We got a great episode lined up for you, so stick with us. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I'd like to first just give out some thank yous for all the support you've been giving to the veterans that, once again, have been coming on the show and sharing part of their lives with us. So thank you for the support you've been giving them, the downloads. We've had over 400 downloads here in the last week, which is absolutely amazing. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for the support that you're giving, the care you're taking in these stories. And once again, thank you to the veterans that have been coming on, the veterans that have been reaching out and just doing what veterans do, is taking care of other veterans. So thank you, everybody, for what you do. The other thank you goes out to Luke Davis and his wife. They're giving some good help to the show. We're trying to update a few things and just try to put out a better show, a better production. So Luke, thank you for your help. And I'm looking forward to good things to come. Heather, over there on the West Coast, she has been leaning forward and trying to get us so that we're protected as far as the name, the stories. They have to be protected too, so we're just making sure that's taken care of, just so we can keep going and not have to worry about that stuff. So that's what we got going on. So thank you to those people that are helping out, and everybody else for liking, sharing, subscribing. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, and keeping in tradition, what we do here, we've got a veteran. Once again, it's getting ready to start up, getting ready to launch a podcast. Chris Tucker's BreechBolt Jungle is going to premiere on July 4th. So I have a 2-minute preview right here that I think we need to get after, because this is really, really good stuff. So take a listen to new podcast coming out, BreechBolt Jungle.
On the night of September 15th, 1944, American Sherman tank ace, Staff Sergeant Lafayette Poole's M4 Sherman, in the Mood 3, attempted to penetrate the secret line. The tank was hit by an ambushing Panther. And while Poole's driver was trying to back his damaged Sherman up, the Panther hit it a second time. Positioned precariously on the edge of a ditch, the force of the second round caught the tank and tipped it over. The high-velocity round from the ambushing Panther killed Poole's replacement gunner, Private First Class Paul Keene, and threw Poole out of the commander's hatch, severely injuring one of his legs with shrapnel. The leg was so badly mangled, it later had to be amputated 8 inches above the knee. After 22 months of rehabilitation and being fitted with a prosthesis, Poole re-enlisted in the Army and went into the Transportation Corps. With the intervention of General Roderick R. Allen, he finally managed to come home to the 3rd Armored Division in 1948, where he became an instructor in automotive mechanics. Lafayette Poole retired from the Army on September 19, 1960, with the rank of Chief Warrant Officer. BreechBolt Jungle. It's a podcast using primary sources to lift the fog of war on topics relating to military history. BreechBolt Jungle is where the men and the men fought the enemy in the terrain in order to accomplish their military mission. If you like podcasts and you like military history, then look us up on Facebook or anywhere you download podcasts. That's BreechBolt Jungle.
Yes, I think that's going to be a really, really, really good show. I'm definitely going to be listening to it, definitely going to be liking it. So congratulations to Chris for putting out a good product, and we look forward to hearing the rest of the episodes. All right, everybody. Hey, we're going to get into our episode, and what we've got today is war music. So the evolution of music, within our own culture, the music has kind of guided or not even, I won't say be guided, it's been almost moved by some of the music that's been put out throughout the ages. I won't get into the dynamics of all that, because that's completely out of my lane. But I will put out just a little information that I gleaned from historical documents stored on the intrawebs. But when we think about war music, even during the Revolutionary War, there were war songs. To Britain, that was one of them. They basically blamed the British for the war and for the atrocities. But even if you go back before that, music, it doesn't have to have words to it for it to have that powerful impact that will surge flesh into battle. So the beat of the drums, the sound of the horns, anything that could motivate, typically something that was tied to the culture, would move armies. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about that and kind of going from the Vietnam era, which is where a lot of my music originated from when I got into the service. Johnny Cash, Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, all those, were people that I listened to. But, we've come out of that to where, we've got people that are listening to Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Metallica, Rage Against the Machine, Eminem. It's such a wide variety. We're going to talk about this more and more episodes and try to get more veteran ideas of what kind of music they're into. But for today, we got three fellas that are going to come on here, and they're going to talk about how music influenced their time in the military. Now, I've challenged all three of them to think about what the music meant as far as back home, and what that means to settle them down, and then what amps them up and gets them going. So I'm interested to hear what they have to say, and I'm very, very happy to be bringing this to you. So here we go. All right, everybody, we got Devon Walker here with us. Devon's Army veteran. He's out in New Mexico right now enjoying a softball tournament. But Devon, thanks for joining us, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've seen you.
It has, man. But we've been catching up with a lot of Spartans and a lot of other folks, and it's pretty great, man. It's pretty great. We're bringing together some really good folks. And I'm glad to have you on the show, man.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
What do you got going on, man? What are you doing right now?
Well, right now we actually just got put out of our softball tournament and played pretty good. We went 2-2, so it wasn't too bad for a good throw together team.
Right.
We didn't have as many veterans on it as we usually do, but I was all right. They just couldn't make it for work and stuff.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So where are you at? Where's this
right
tournament?
Now I'm in Clovis, New Mexico. We're playing at the Guy Leader softball fields.
Okay.
And usually I live in Amarillo, Texas.
Right.
And so we'll make that 2-hour trek tomorrow after finishing watching the rest of the games.
Yeah.
And go back to work.
Right.
Go back to being an electrician.
All right, man. So, hey, for the listeners out there, before we jump into your war music selection and process, hey, give everybody just kind of your background, man, so we can build a little bit of rapport with you.
All right. Well, I joined the Army in June 18th of 2003. From there, I went to basic AIT and then jumped to Hawaii, where I was in 2-5 for my first deployment to Afghanistan. And then once we got back from Afghanistan, I moved over to 235, where I came over to the Spartan platoon.
Hell yeah.
And then we deployed from there. We went to Iraq. After we got back there, it was December of '07. I left and moved to Fort Carson, where I was in 167 Armor, and then to, as a matter of fact, we went back to Kirkuk first, and then went to Mosul.
Right.
So it was pretty neat. And then after that, I got out in 2011, March of 2011, and went right into my electrical program through the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Been doing that ever since.
Now you're the union vice president, right?
Yes, I'm my local chapter's vice president.
That's right. That's right. All right, man. Once again, hey, like we talked, have you come on here and talk to some of these new veterans, maybe about career in being an electrician.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have you come on as a resource, man. It's you're proven once again to be quite resourceful, my friend.
That's what I did. I could always scrounge anything.
I know. Hey, man, you know, this is the war music episode, so jump in, man, and tell us, you know, what takes you to battle, what keeps you in the fight, and then how do you dial it down when it's all said and done? So the floor is yours, man. Show's yours.
All right. Well, when we'd get to the live fire, to the fire pit, so that way we could lock and load and get ready, we were usually listening to Mudvayne, Lamb of God, anything that really just kind of would make you move and just get you excited. And then when we were out, and this was at the first part of the deployment, and then when we were out, it was just kind of a mix. We always just whatever, we'd let everybody in the truck take a rotation. I mean, we were always out for 6 to 8 hours anyway, so we'd rotate in and out of different musics. Like I remember Walk Up used to love to listen to country when we were out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Whenever I was gunning for you, it'd always be we'd listen to damn near everything.
Yep.
Your taste in music and mine was pretty well the same, so we were always jamming. Then when we'd get back, I'd always start out with like AC/DC while I was cleaning my weapon, while I was cleaning the 50. And then once I got the 50 cleaned, I could tone it down to some Texas country. And I like Kevin Fowler and Casey Donahue were two of them that I really always enjoyed. And that would make it to where I could completely relax, and we'd go eat chow, go to the gym, do whatever. Then later on in the deployment, to get amped up anymore, I completely had to change musics. Perkins got me hooked on Black Label Society.
Yeah.
So we'd jam out. I still, no matter what, I've got every album from them. And every time I hear it, I remember us sitting out on that lanai that we had with Frank, me and Frank, and a couple of others, and we'd sit out there and smoke cigars.
Yep.
Right outside your room.
It was a good time, man.
When it was cold, we'd always get in trouble by First Sergeant because we were in your room smoking cigars.
Yep.
But
hey, so let me ask you this here, man. When you're dialing things down, is your music, is that the kind of music you would listen to like at home, like in the garage or sitting around with some friends, in Hawaii or back home in Texas? You know what I'm saying? Is it bringing you back to something that's more Devon than it is, Walker? Because when you're in the truck and you're getting fired up to Mudvayne, you've got the hat turned around and you're Walker now.
Right.
But I always ask, at some point, is the active duty soldier, airman, Marine, squid, whatever, seaman, sea woman, whatever it is, are they trying to put things in front of them that bring them back to themselves? And so that's the question I ask about music.
See, and with me, music is a big deal.
Right.
It always has been. It's always different musics. As different musics affect your mood.
Right.
Me, I've always been quite the opposite of that. So I would listen to Mudvayne and get pumped up, but we could be sitting out here like right now, while we're sitting here cooking. It's hell, we're listening to everything. We've got our Pandora set to just random. So for me, music is anymore. It helps me control my ADHD and focus better now.
Right.
To where I can do that. But it's always brought me back to home. Like my dad used to love to listen to rock and roll. All the 90s, 2000, the good music, Nirvana and stuff like that. So
you are young, man. If your old man cutting his teeth on that.
hey, Dad's
awesome.
55, so
yeah, hell yeah, man.
And so hey, I'm an 80s baby, 90s kid. You know how it goes.
Yeah, I got you, man.
And but no, it every song that I listen to, I don't have specific music. Just every song has something that reminds me of especially when we were over there. It always reminded me of home, and so it was easier to kind of take the focus off the war zone when we were there, and put it back to where I was at home, and I could center my,
Yeah, definitely.
It made it easier to center yourself and put some distance in between them.
Well, you know what, Devon, I can tell you, man, I think that that worked well, because there were very, very few times, and I think we all know in the situations where everybody was down, but very few times I ever see you not up. So, if you say it's the music, then I would honestly, man, I would contribute, the fact that you had the ability to listen to music and get yourself as close to, center as you can, man. I'm glad it worked.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that it did work. That was always one thing. That was always one thing that I could tell people. As long as I was listening to music, I was going to be smiling. It's hard to get me down if I got music.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. So what do you listen to these days, man?
Well, I've been listening to a lot of Texas country. We've been having we've got the Starlight Ranch there in Amarillo, and all the big Texas country names come out. Kevin Fowler, Casey Donahue, Stoney LaRue.
Hey, can I interrupt you for a minute?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any contact with anybody that has contact with them?
I
will say this here, and this is the bargain I'll make with you.
All right.
You link up with one of them. It doesn't have to be a major somebody, but somebody that's on the radio that another veteran may hold in regard.
Right.
You set up the interview with them, and you can co-host that episode, and you can interview them yourself for the rest of the veterans out here. What do you think?
All right. I will see what I can do.
Okay. Once again, you're resourceful, man. I expect this to happen, because that's just what happens when you get a hold of things.
Not a problem. I've also got this guy. He's an opener. His name's I believe it's Andrew Johnston.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a vet.
Let's get him on the show.
And that's what I was getting at. I'm friends with him on Facebook. I'm gonna hit him up.
Yep.
Right after this episode.
Well, I'll tell you what. Once again, if you're bringing him to the show, then you're going to co-host that episode. So you and I will be working together, building that episode together, and you'll have questions for him. You'll be engaged in rocking and rolling. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, Devon. Hey, brother, we appreciate you coming on the show, man, and chatting with us and letting us know who you are. And
I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, everybody, once again, hey, Devon Walker, he's going to be coming on, telling his story. He's got a bunch of resources. He knows a tons of people. We're going to have a really good time, because Devon is a really fun guy. So, once again, thanks for coming on the show, Devon, and we'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the phone here with Pat Russell. He's going to be talking to us about his preference in war music and how he gets ready for battle and how he comes on down. So, welcome Pat Russell to the show. Pat, welcome to Heart of Volunteer Veterans Podcast, brother. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brother. Hey, I got your 10,000 Strong playing over here. What do you think?
Epic.
Hey, man. So, what do you got? What have you been doing today?
Today, well, the wife and I are just enjoying a relaxing weekend and trying to get some chores done and just hanging out, man.
Well, man,
Enjoying a break in the weather.
yeah, it was pretty stormy this morning. Got pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, man, hey, I'm glad you came on, and we're looking forward to having you come on and tell your story, and then introduce your podcast that you're working on. I'm excited about that, man. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, man.
Hey, so give the listeners, since you haven't been on the show before, give the listeners a little bit of background on you, and then, man, we'll jump into the episode, and you can tell us what you think about music and combat.
Yeah, man. So I'm originally from Montana, and I joined the Army in 2003. And while in the Army, I was in the infantry with the 25th up in Alaska. Did a deployment with them to Anbar province in Iraq, and that's where I got a Purple Heart also, and came back and in 2009 went to Special Forces selection and spent the rest of my time in 5th Special Forces Group in Fort Campbell as an engineer and a little bit of intel. And recently medically retired in October 2018. Just one day watching Wonder Woman, and next moment I know I'm in the hospital. And my career came to a screeching halt. And over the course of about a year, dealing with emotions and transitional issues and things like that, I ended up developing my own nonprofit here in Kentucky, Resiliency Outreach. And it's my way of staying connected to the community, but also trying to take care of our brothers and sisters and their families, you know what I mean? And it was kind of spawned out of sitting in my chair feeling sorry for myself, and then just one moment, that's not what soldiers do. We don't feel sorry for ourselves. We find a solution, we overcome, and we adapt. And so I went to a couple of my friends and said, this is what I want to do, man. Provide new purpose and direction, not only for my life, but for those, because I can't be the only one.
Right.
So finding those who need new purpose and direction, and let's just do something for them. We kind of tailored it to 3 different things where, we have outdoor programs where families can get away. The guys can go hunting, shoot guns, do guy stuff. Women can go do girly stuff, or like we can just go camping. It don't matter. Try to be involved in the community as much as we can, doing some community service, feeding homeless, things like that. And then we're building a kind of an employment transitional assistance program where we can actually take a veteran or a homeless guy and say, hey, if you work for me, I can help, we could pay you and help get you on your feet. You can earn a little bit of extra income, pay some bills, get some stability in your life. And we're partnering with different mentors and different employment agencies so we can help them get meaningful employment. And yeah, just that's about it, man. That's what I've been doing for the last almost year.
Dude, I love what you're doing, man. And we're gonna we're working on your episode for highlighting resiliency outreach.
Yeah, man.
So it's gonna be a good episode, man. Happy what you're doing out there, and if there's any listeners out there in Kentucky area, link up with Pat if you want to help out. He's always looking for people to help. All right, man. So let's break into your music, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm a metalhead all day.
Yeah.
That's what gets me going, man. It gets me out of bed. You see all my toys behind me.
I see your axes back behind you.
Yeah, man. I just it's got to be loud. It's got to be hard, and that's what gets me going. And it started off as like my rebellion.
Hey, you came in kind of glitchy, man. What was that?
Country music. growing up in Montana, that was it started off as my rebellion against country music because everybody listened to country music.
Right.
And so I decided I'm going to listen to Metallica and Black Sabbath. So, screw you kind of thing.
Right.
And it just took and hooked. And yeah, that's just how I define my taste in music. But I guess you want to know about the war stuff. What gets the blood driving and blood going?
Yeah, man. I think, when I think about an infantryman, I think of, getting the mission, and preparing for it, man. Packing for a foot march in, aircraft delivery, vehicle insertion, whatever the case may be, you're getting amped up.
Yeah, man.
And being a metalhead, what's that look like to you, man? How are you applying music to that process?
Man, well, when I was in the infantry, it was more or less like a quick mission brief, and here's a GRG grid reference for the objective, right? And we're coming in here, we're doing this, and et cetera, whatever, and looking at a piece of paper and just trying to study it. Well, when I do that, have my iPod in, man, just jamming Pantera, Metallica. We mentioned Iron Maiden. They were definitely
Maiden.
In that playlist also, and just getting that power and that aggression and that fire just building up inside, because you're about to step out into the unknown, and it's unknown. It's scary. Everybody's scared of the unknown, and so you're just trying to get amped up. Like, well, if I'm going, I'm gonna go out rocking. You know?
Absolutely.
And,
you know what I always got, man, was my music that I picked always turned off that that person that has like a home, has people back home. Turned it off.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you have got to stay. The only room you can look into right now is the one in front of you. You can't even think about everything else you've got. Because everything else doesn't matter if you don't make it back and those around you.
Yeah, man.
And my music always, it always just turned off everything else and just made it just one single purpose.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And that's why it's got to be loud. And that's why it's got to be hard to drown out those voices and that voice of doubt and hesitation and all that, just to hone your focus in. And, I do the same thing when working out, all that, drowning out that voice of I can't do this. Yeah. And just then having somebody screaming in your head like, just fucking go.
Right. Absolutely, man.
So no, I dig it, man. Kind of a funny tale though, non-combat related, but you mentioned ruck marches. Mm-hmm. This is like the complete 180 of the metal spectrum. But when you're on like a 12, 20, 30 mile road march, what song do you have in your head? I remember one time just being just sucking, just totally sucking. And as I was stepping, I noticed that my steps were to the beat of my humps.
Yeah.
And then when I get like really tired, I start thinking of like Santa Claus is coming to town, where he's teaching the warlock how to walk. He's like,
right.
Just one foot in front of the other. And so I got goofy things going on in my head at all times, I guess.
You know what? There was a couple of times, only a few times, where I actually took earbuds and like walked like a long ways. I've taken like a recorder and like, a tape recorder and like put it in my ruck and just, but it doesn't work as well as but anyway, man, I had a whole playlist and it would just play. And you're absolutely right. I didn't have the skill to like set it up where it was like, I'm going to march fast, I'm going to slow down, march fast. It was all this random. I'd have like an hour straight of like just like music that was driving me to kill myself. Yeah. And then like 45 minutes of like low crawling music. And it was like, what the? But yeah, man, it's it definitely will drive you and play to your, to whatever your mind, however it takes it in. You know what I mean? The mood.
Yeah.
All right, so hey, so what happens when you're coming off? Speaking of mood, I mean, you slid right into that. when it's all done, what is music doing to you to bring you back?
Yeah, man. Music is a very powerful tool for me, because like you said, it can bring you up, it can mellow you out, and no matter what mood you're in, there's always something for that to kind of bring you back to equilibrium. And I guess when I came back, like I have my playlist of just like the hardest music I have, and then when I'm coming down, it's like super mellow, maybe even some classical guitar, some classical music, something like that. You're gonna laugh at me, but I even throw in some like Nickelback in there. They're, I don't think people give them enough credit, man. I jammed out to Nickelback coming off of Missions, and they mellow me out, man.
I will agree with you, man. I'm here with you. Nickelback has its place.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna dial it down, Nickelback's probably a good place to start. I won't doubt you there. I won't doubt you.
They got good slow jams that just touch on you and stuff like that. And then there's an artist, Cold. I used to listen to almost exclusively. Like the first song on my playlist was called "Anatomy of a Tidal Wave," and I don't know why, but just like the way the song is, like I was scrolling through my playlist the other day, and I'm like, I haven't listened to this song since Iraq, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing it, and I started getting like all these emotions coming back, and I'm like, it brought me back to those moments of sitting on the bunker or sitting on my cot or ruck or whatever, just trying to come down. Yeah, man, just a very powerful tool.
Hey, so let me ask you this here. You got the SGB injection.
Yeah.
What has that injection? Now we're going to have you on to talk about this.
Yeah.
But what has that injection done for you as far as music? I mean, it's helped you with PTSD. What is it doing with music? Are you seeing a difference with the way music is? You take it in, how it makes you feel. Is there any differences there? Are you identifying that?
I honestly didn't even think about it. I don't think there is a difference, just because music has such an important role in my life. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm open to all sorts of music. I'll have to pay more attention to that, seeing if there is any change in that.
Well, we talked about you keeping notes on the way your life is affected by this injection, and I think that's important, not only for your own edification, but when another veteran reaches out to you and says, hey man, did this thing work for you? And you go, it did, and you start rattling it off. And the thing is, those are deep things where you have to be like, oh shit, like literally stop and be like, this is working right now in this avenue, this section of my life.
Yeah, no, I'll have to pay more attention to it. But as I think about it, I think that I have a little bit more fun with the music. I'm still not a singer, and I'm still not going to get up and sing. That it's not going to change that. But like, I can listen to a wedding with the wife, and they're playing sorts of, not me, not my jam, but I can sit there like going doing the Cupid shuffle or whatever it is, and like all these other dances,
like the wedding music dances. Yeah, weddings.
And the old me would have been like, no, I'm not going to put myself out like that. But like, I guess I'm just a little bit more into it.
Yeah,
I guess.
More flexible.
When people ask, yeah,
flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Flexible. That's a good jam. That's a good way to put it, man. Yeah, I'll have to pay more attention. Mostly when people talk to me about that SGB, it's more about like the anxiety, or is it having any adverse effects? Because my side of the world has known about it for a few years,
right?
But it's starting to become more mainstream, and of course you're going to have the doubters because they're jaded, and for whatever reason, that's on them. I'm not gonna take that away from them. But I just sit there and I was like, hey man, I got it done, just only once. It's a phase. I'm going to go back in August to get another injection, but I did it once and just had this sense of euphoria,
Right.
and just this relaxed feeling, and like, the like normal things that would like irritate you, like a dog peeing in your house, like that doesn't go away, but you're like, I'm mad, and then you're over it,
Right. Right.
like you're not like dwelling on it and going seeing red and blinding rage. It's just it's helping to regulate that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to definitely pay attention to how the music is affecting it.
Dude, let's get you on here, man, and let's talk about the SGB. Let's do that. Yeah. Hey, Pat, I love you, brother. You're doing great things out there, man.
Yeah, man.
And
you too, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna keep working together, man. We got the same mission. We got the same goal. And right. In my mind, we're the same people. All right.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thanks for coming on the show, man. And all right, so hey, we got Andrew on the line here with us. Andrew's going to talk to us about his experience with combat and war music. Andrew, brother, how you doing, man?
Good, Chris. How about you, man?
I'm doing good, brother. I'm doing good. I'm glad we hooked back up, man. It's good to see you out there doing good things, man. I gotta tell you, brother, you look like Joe Rogan, man. I'm telling you.
I appreciate that, man.
I'm telling you.
I'll take that as a compliment. That's one of my man crushes. I'll take it.
Dude, you look just like him, man. I like it. That's awesome. Dude, so what's going on, man? How's your day been?
Day's been going good, man. It's a nice, beautiful Sunday in Tennessee. I took the family to church, hung out with my son a little bit, kind of plotted and schemed on where I'm going to take things.
Right. Hey, so how you're on active duty right now?
Absolutely. Right now, I am a recruiter in Jackson, Tennessee, and I've got a few different pans in the fire. I'm working on setting up a defensive school. I'm also working on getting my kid where I want him to be, as far as learning the skill set that kind of falls into the warrior category stuff.
Right. How much time you got till you retire, man?
I got about another 9 years.
You gotta
if I can stretch it out that long.
You gonna stick it out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If they'll keep me.
Yeah, they'll keep you, man. You're squared away, brother. I like that. Well, hey, man, let's let's talk about your choice of music when it comes to combat, man. Like we talked about. What gets you fired up, what keeps you there, what are you thinking? And when it's all said and done, man, how are you coming back down and joining the sane people that are out there about us? Talk to us, man. Tell us what you got.
I was thinking about it earlier, and I started going through my old playlists in my iPod, and it was there's only really two genres that I stuck with. Growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, I had a little bit of both of those. It was either hardcore gangster rap or it was just extreme heavy metal.
Right.
For the most part, to get my head squared away before we hit the gate, it was always heavy metal was the last thing that I wanted to hit on before we hit the door of the hooch and kind of did the straight hog strut out there.
Now, when you're stepping out the gate, Andrew, where are you going? Where are you at when you're listening to this stuff? Tell the listeners where you're at.
Well,
what part of the world what part of the world you in?
Well, I know when I first met you was in the Korengal Valley in Afghanistan. And I mean, just a savage place, a savage place. There's no room for weakness out there. And the first time I got a little taste of combat, I knew that I had to have my head right. And so, man, my day always started off the same when we were over there. We would get the mission, we'd get our op order and stuff like that, and we knew the moving pieces, who was doing what. And probably about an hour before we were gonna step out and get to the gate, I would always turn on something that would kind of like build up to a real hard grunge. Like Pantera was always a favorite. Like Cemetery Gates, Tens
Yep.
was one of my personal favorites that I still listen to.
Oh yeah, I like Cowboys from Hell.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I would typically kind of just zone out while doing my little PCCs, my personal PCCs and PCIs, getting my freedom dispenser right, oiling it up, and just kind of letting go of any kind of residual crap that I have going on in the back of my head, pushing all that out as far as I possibly can, and just letting the hate settle in.
Now, Andrew, are you talking about, just like, like thoughts of family and that kind of thing? Are those the things you're kind of pushing out, pushing them to the side while is that what you're doing, or is there something else?
Yeah, that I mean, family, you think about all kinds of stuff about, what am I going to do with this fat bank account when I get home? What's little Susie doing while I'm away? Is what's mom and dad doing? Any and all that stuff.
Right.
Just all the nothing matters except for the mission. Whenever you're in that kind of environment, none of it really is going to amount to anything if you end up getting shot because your head is in the wrong place when it should be on, where's my brother? Where's his next point of cover? What am I going to do if we get hit at this point? So on and so forth.
That's why you need to stay in, man. The Army needs you. I like you, Andrew. I like how you work, brother. I like how you think. Absolutely, man. I agree with that. A lot of, unfortunately, a lot of relationships were lost with that kind of mentality, but a lot of lives were saved too, especially in that environment. So I commend you, man, keeping your head on tight.
Right. And on a personal level, it can kind of drag you down into a dark place, but it's a good dark place that I'd like to assume. I mean, I don't know. I know in my circles it's true, but where you allow yourself to become the king of this dark place, to where you and all your brothers to your left and your right, you can embrace each other in that warrior mentality. Definitely,
it's a mindset, man.
Absolutely.
You can't. I still remember when that video of call me maybe. Did you ever see that where all the soldiers were jumping around and acting out the video?
Yeah.
That was like towards the end of my career, and I could giggle about that. But if that ever would have came out like any other time before, I wouldn't have been entertained at all, because it's like, to me, I'm like, you don't have your head in the game.
Right. Right.
Because then, it was, like you said, man, it was rock and roll. It was, it was, for me, man, it was the sagas, Iron Maiden. I've always loved Maiden. I love AC/DC, love Metallica. I absolutely, I fell in love with Iced Earth, man. They've got like, their songs are like sagas, and I always liked that, man. Not a lot of words, just the music. Because
right. I remember when that one particular deployment started. I mean, and other good combat, another deployment, but that one as a private kind of set the tone for things. I know at first when I started listening to my music before we stepped out of the gate, I would have headphones in, mm-hmm. and it was a real personal thing. But by somewhere around month 6 or so, it was me blasting it in a speaker, and my entire squad was jiving.
Yeah.
Before we stepped out.
You got to be connected, man. And I talked to some other soldiers, and they said that bond that you've got, it's almost, it gives you that force field. You know what I mean? It gives you that force field around all of you when you're connected that tight. And then when it's time to do stuff, you don't feel limited by yourself. You feel magnified by those around right. you. And the actions you take, man, they're just straight up heroic. I think Admiral Nimitz said it's uncommon valor was a common virtue. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Right.
kind of stuff that happens like day in and day out. It's like medals and awards would be given out every minute. But the level is just set so high, especially when you get in a group, man. That's awesome.
Right. That actually brings to mind. I hope the guy doesn't get pissed off about me talking about this, but I know he thinks about it the same way. Gardner.
Damon.
I first met that dude. I hated his guts. Like, don't get it twisted. I absolutely hated that dude. He was an asshole. He was a jerk. Like, he always picked at me, and he knew the perfect buttons to push to set me off and just to get me in a bad mood. Mm-hmm. But one particular day, we went to the village of Lanyall. Mm-hmm. And nothing happened. For once, nothing happened. And one would assume that if you're in a place and something always happens and it doesn't happen that day, that maybe there's something bigger down the line.
Right.
But I didn't think about it too much. I was like, whatever. I guess we're not getting any today. And instead of going across the mountainside down the creek before we crossed over into Allahabad and went up the Allahabad staircase. Mm-hmm. And man, we got me and G were in the very rear of the formation. We were picking up trail. He had his 48 and I had my Mark 46. And dude, I'd say about, I don't know, 100 meters from the top, like pretty much in the middle of the staircase, like we just got ambushed.
Yeah.
And it was terrible because there was no cover whatsoever. Right. And the immediate thing that went through my mind was, oh, fuck. Like this, you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
You got to catch me with my ass hanging out.
Yep.
So I turn and I lock down on the trigger, and Gardner, who he had a piece of cover up in front of me. It wasn't anything big, but all I had was this little Charlie Brown Christmas tree in front of me.
Right.
It was the smallest, most pitiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. And like a man, like a real man that just nutted up and decided to hang out with me, removed himself from his cover.
Yep.
And took a knee right beside me. And I mean, dude, I still see that same scenario play out in slow-mo, in my head anytime I think about it. Too hard. The dust kick up from the rounds hitting the rocks in front of me. You know, the little Charlie Brown Christmas tree, the leaves getting cut off by the incoming round. And the dude just did some really he stuck it out right there, next to me. And I mean, by the time it was done, from that moment forward, we ended up shooting it out for another good, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Went cyclic on both guns. You know, got yelled at for that later. But we ended up moving up into the village. And from that day forward, me and that dude, he'll always be my best friend. I don't care what happens in that dude's life or in mine. He'll always be my best friend.
Hell yeah, man. We'll have to. We're gonna get you on here, Andrew. We're gonna get you on here. We're gonna get you talking, man. Talk about some of this stuff. But so after that, man, you get back there to the cop. What are you listening to bring you down from the staircase incident? How are you getting your head right? What are you thinking?
Man, clean, it was always did all that stuff with my music in phases. There was the build up before you step out for mission, and then there was always that one good fuck you song right before you left the hooch, right before you hit the gate. And then when you come back with a dirty gun, you know you're going to be sitting in front of your blaster for a minute cleaning it. So for me, whenever I got back and I just kind of chilled out into the groove was I don't know, something kind of melancholy like Alice in Chains.
Yep.
Was real good.
Yep.
Like the song Wood comes to mind.
Yep.
Somebody when you posted about you know what music are you listening to? When you first put that out, somebody said, I don't know, you could always go with Rooster because you know he ain't gonna die. And I was like,
yeah.
yeah.
That was Mark. That was Mark Miller. Mark Miller loves the Rooster, man. It's a good song.
Yeah, it is a good song. It is a good song. It's got good roots.
Yeah, you know what, Andrew? For me, man, it, like the dial down at the end of the, at the end was kind of, like you said, it was kind of at the beginning. It was erase everything that could slow me down, could give me fear, right? But when I come back, man, I'm always trying to get back to there. I'm trying to get my heart back. I'm trying to be my mom's son. You know what I'm saying? And that I will say this here, the Korengal, there was not a lot of come down, and so by the time that thing ended, there was a lot of personal lives that were in shambles.
Right.
But that's the intensity. That's just a mark of the intensity of the deployment, and you guys, breaking yourselves every single day. To only lose one man, Robert, that's a testament, man. You know what I'm saying? And it's stuff like Damien doing that for you, being right there for you, leaning his gun up into yours. You guys can lay down some good fire. That's what it's all about, brother. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I still, you kind of touched on it earlier. I'm still able to pull up some of this music that I jive to out there, and I don't know, like tomorrow morning, I'm gonna start my day with a nice long run, and I'm gonna pull up my playlist that I had when I was over there.
Yep.
And before long, I'll be running, a 6-minute mile, spacing things out, just straight getting it.
Yep. Dude, my playlist is called Bring the Stunner. Bring the Stunner is the name of my playlist. I've had that thing since before the Korengal, and I just kept adding songs to it.
Yeah, mine is something similar. Mine's called Rage, and it's just nothing but just angry hate music. Like, that's all it is.
Yep. You got to have that stuff. Hey, Andrew, thanks for coming on the show, man. I want to get you on here again, but definitely we're gonna be here when you hang your hat, and we're gonna be wanting you to come on the show, man. Talk to us.
Absolutely, brother. Let me know whatever you need.
All right.
I know we've got a pretty long past, I'd like to say.
Yeah. Yep.
You as my senior and me as a young buck coming up through the Army, but I really appreciate what you're doing with the show too.
Hey, we're gonna have you on here, man, so you can tell us, kind of give us an update as how the Army's doing out there. So we'll I'll hook up with you, man. We'll talk some more.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us today here on Heart of Volunteer Veterans Podcast. Hey, we had 3 amazing, motivated veterans come on today and describe to us what war music means to them. And I hope you got a deep display of that. Everybody have an amazing week. Go get it. It's yours to own. Heart of a Volunteer. Copyright 2019.